Hello everyone and welcome to a rather frustrating episode of Planet Game Development. I have got a bit of progress, but I'm not going to show it just now because it's not enough to make into a video. All I have is a really big frickin' problem. Now, it's networking. Of course it's networking. I decided to move over to async networking. And the problem is, it's really hard. I was following One Lone Coder's tutorial on networking for an MMO, because I guess my game is an MMO. But the thing is, it's asynchronous networking is quite a pain. So before I was using synchronous networking, which means if you wait for a network packet, it's going to block the thread, and that's why I needed to use a bunch of threads, and I was having a bunch of problems with that because, you know, threads are quite hard to handle. And also, the thing is, the server cannot send a message to the client without the client sending a message to the server first. If we have a look at, this is Planet Client Synchronous, this is my old version, Synchronous Networking. If we have a look at src / network.cpp, we can see it down here. This is the main loop, handle network. What it does is, firstly, it writes the request. This happens when there's a request, and then straight after it writes the request, it reads a new result from the server. And here it's just waiting for a new message to send instead of waiting for the server to send it a message. So you can probably see, like, it writes the request and then it reads. There's no way the server can send a message to the client without the client requesting something. And that's a problem, because what if you're on the planet's surface and client A sends a message to the server saying, I've changed this tile, and client B is also on that planet's surface, right? And the server then needs to send that client B the information that client A has done something. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of out of sync issues where you're looking at the surface and it's already been changed. Now, the solution I had to this was these keep alive requests that do nothing, and it allows the server just to send arbitrary information back when there's a keep alive request. But it's really bodged together and it's not good and it doesn't work. So I needed to change that. So I did, and I rewrote it using asynchronous networking. So if we have a look at Planet Server, this thing now runs just fine. There's no issues with the server as I rewrote it with asynchronous networking, because the server needs to be asynchronous too to be able to do sending and receiving at the same time. So the server is fine. That took me a while to work it out, but it's all good. It actually worked first time. After I fixed all the compile errors, there were no issues. But if we go to the client, well, this is the synchronous client, and you can see I can zoom out and I can scroll along, and it takes a minute to load it all in because it needs to generate, but you can see there's no missing sectors. If we press F3, all of these sectors are populated. But if we go to Planet Client, and this is the asynchronous version where I rewrote it asynchronously, we can see that actually when it compiles, oh, for goodness sake, I'll be back, and we can see that when it compiles and we zoom out and we go to site, oh look, and it crashed. And you can see this is where the problem starts arising. Over here, this is where the old server had. These are just the number of bytes that the server received, and these are the bytes that the client received. But anyway, this is the old client, right? The one that works. Then this is the new client, and we can see it all works up until here. And then it says, warning, client sent malformed JSON. And then, look, this is part of a JSON request. It's almost as if the async read until is exiting prematurely. Now, the way this works is I send all the requests backwards and forwards as JSON, right? Which means, and what I do is I put a new line at the end of each JSON request. And that means that the client reads all the way, and the server, in fact, all the way up until it finds a new line. And when it finds the new line, it knows it's done. But the problem is that it doesn't seem to be doing that. It seems to be stopping the read somehow and then starting it again, which means that this is all messed up. And the thing is, right, JSON can sometimes piece together the first half, which is why you always see the second half of the message being printed out as an error. It can sometimes piece together the first half and get enough information that it can make a JSON object, but often that causes other errors because the JSON object is malformed. But the last half it really can't. And so you see it's happened 3 times, until it terminate calls after throwing JSON logic error, which means it's just completely broken. And look up here, it says that the server sent malformed JSON, and then the last half. And this is absolutely beyond me, because you know what, right? If you have a look at network.cpp, look at this. This line here is the exact same line of code as in the synchronous version. This is the asynchronous version communicating with the asynchronous server. The synchronous version communicating with the asynchronous server works just fine, no errors, everything's good. The asynchronous version with the asynchronous server doesn't work, even though the call to ASIO write is the same. Not just I rewrote it the same, it's literally the same code. I didn't change it at all. If we go over to Planet Client Synchronous and run the same thing, look, if we scroll down a bit, because it's changed places, of course, look, it's literally the same line of code. Now, this is what I don't understand, because somehow a change in the client has caused the server to start receiving malformed JSON requests. And I don't understand how that's possible. I've been working on this for weeks, and I don't understand it. So, possibly, let's have a look with Wireshark. Let's start listening on loopback, and head over to here. Server's running, run the client. This is the one that is fine. And we can see it's loading in all the sectors. Right, let's have a look at the Wireshark dump for that. We can see, let's just have a look at the first few packets, start the connection, and then look, we've got our request down here. That's all fine. Now, here is the thing. When the request is more than 32,768 bytes, or sometimes 65,536, it will actually split between multiple packets, but that should be fine. And this is why it's fine, because it's happened here. Look, the size here is 32,768, and then it's then, and if we go down to the bottom, you can see that it isn't terminating, but there's no 0A, there's no new line, which means it shouldn't terminate the read. It will continue reading multiple packets until it finds the 0A, the new line. And this is just the acknowledge. And down here, see, it continues on exactly where it left off. And head down to the bottom, there's your 0A. It's terminated the read. Now, this works, because this works. It just works. But if we take a Wireshark dump of the asynchronous server, or client rather, and we see, oh, it's errors, oh, and it crashed. We have a look here, stop recording. Go up to the top. Let's actually have a look at the bottom where it crashed. Right? It's doing the same thing. Look, 32,000. Oh, actually, no, it's not 32,768. It's even more. But anyway, it's doing a bit, and it's not. It's a bit odd the sizes, but like, see, that's terminated with 0A. Oh, hang on a minute. Okay, so it seems what's happening here is the server, which is on port 5555. Is sending data, and this is the start of the request, this is a bit more of the request, and this is the end of the request, right? But in between this server's requests, the client has sent something. And again, as far as I'm aware, this should be a non-issue. This shouldn't cause any problems. But maybe it is. How do I mitigate that? How do I stop it? How do I do anything? I have no idea. I don't understand why it even is a problem in the first place, just because of the fact that it's a stream protocol. It should read until it finds the new line. It shouldn't care if it sends a packet while it's reading. That shouldn't cause an issue, right? Anyway, if anyone has any idea as to what on earth is going on here, and has actually listened through this absolute ramble of a ramble, then I would very much appreciate any input at all. Like, does anyone know about async networking? Is this a regular issue? Is this just a weird thing? Is there a race condition? Is there some kind of stupid thing I've programmed? Is my code just bad and I should start again? I don't know. All the code's up on GitHub. There's a couple of commits saying rewrote client, rewrote server to use async networking. So if you go before those commits, it'll all be synchronous. After those commits, it'll all be asynchronous. I don't know. I don't understand. The synchronous server doesn't work with the asynchronous client without a slight modification because I had to actually modify it, I guess. But the asynchronous server should work with both out of the box. Yeah, if anyone can tell me what on earth is going on here, that'd be very much appreciated. Anyway, as usual, bye!